Yo, good looks to dreadsock.com for sponsoring this episode of Real Notes. Anyone who has curly or locked hair like me knows how sacred a good hair wrap is. A do-rag, a wave cap, a scarf, a bandana, a bonnet, you name it. Dreadsock goes a step beyond the average with silk-based head wraps that offer full protection and frizz control for curls from 2A to 4C. They're made of a blend of breathable materials to help retain hair's moisture and preserve hairstyles enough to ensure a few less trips to the salon, all held down with an elastic band strong enough to withstand even the most aggressive head trips. Whether you wear one to bed or wear one on the go, Dreadsock will have you looking fresh and full. Socks come in all sizes, from shorties for short hair and beginner twists to extra large for the longer locked folks out there. Look, y'all, I've been growing my locks for nearly 2 decades and have been a loyal Dreadsock customer for 15 years. So when I tell you these shits work, I'm dead ass. Plus, they're an independent, black-owned business that's worth the time and energy. So go to dreadsock.com and use promo code CineMasai, that's CineMasai, for 10% off your first order. They won't fall off in your sleep, but they will keep you looking fresh. Thanks again to Dreadsock for sponsoring the episode. Now let's keep this shit moving. What's good, y'all? My name is Dylan Green, and this is Real Notes, a space dedicated to blurring the cultural and artistic lines between rap and film. I'm here to chop it up with everyone from rappers and producers to journalists and video directors about their relationship to movies and how, if at all, film inspires their craft. My guest this week is New Jersey-based singer, songwriter, and producer Fielded. We spoke about No One Will Save You, Silence of the Lambs, The Sopranos, 6 Feet Under, the work of Aster and Todd Solondz, why we're attracted to dark and disturbing movies, their journey from a musical family to creating the Fielded project, linking with Backwoodz Studioz, and the creative process behind their latest album, Plus One. Come fuck with us. What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to Real Notes. It's a lovely almost 80-degree day at the beginning of October. This is the world we live in now. I kind of like it. I probably shouldn't like it, but it's cool. I'm not mad at it for right now. But my name's Dylan Green, CineMasai. Got a lot of names, do a lot of shit, be outside, inside, all around, bouncing off the walls. And I'm with somebody else today who also is bouncing off all sorts of different walls and has been in many different places the last couple days, and throughout their career in many. Yeah, I'm using the word many too many times. But but yeah, you know, they're a singer, songwriter, producer, child of film. At the very least, at this very moment, they've been watching movies up in bed all day, and I appreciate them coming to come hang out here for a bit to talk about more movies. But we got Fielded. Fielded's in the house. Lindsay's here. Plus One is out now. Apparently it's sold out. Congratulations on that, by the way. Very happy to hear that.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, I'm bummed for all the people who don't get the vinyl, but I'm happy for me because it's exciting, you know.
Yeah, it's a big accomplishment, you know, like that's not nothing. And yeah, before we even get started, for real, like, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for wanting to do this. I've been a fan of yours for quite a few years. Yeah, like I want to say since I don't remember the exact year, but it's been a while, and it's been really wonderful to see you grow. So like, I appreciate you being here and the
Thanks
music.
for having me. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. And you have like I've said before, your energy is so great, and I appreciate what you do. So yeah, it's good to be here too. Yeah.
Thank you. No, that means a lot. I try my best to make this a fun and loving environment. But let me ask you the first question I ask everybody who comes on here, which we were already talking about off camera. But what was the last movie you watched that you had a strong opinion about?
Oh, I mean, did I have a strong opinion? I guess. Well, okay, I watched. Oh, can I tell you what movie I do have a really strong opinion about that I'm not
Please.
done with?
Yeah.
Have you watched this? Sorry, I'm like, I am not in the business of knowing a lot of amazing films. But I was like, this Netflix film, you know, I fall for a little true crime. And I was like, ooh, this film Reptile, I gotta watch it. What's his name is in it? What is his name? He was like so handsome when he was younger. Anyway, I was like, I gotta watch this movie. Alicia Silverstone's in it. I was like, yes, true crime. Justin Timberlake's in it. Oh, he's coming
What
back
the
to acting.
fuck?
Yes. It is so so bad, and I'm gonna finish it. Like, this is how I roll with movies. I'm just like, this is terrible, but I have to finish it. The first like within the first like 10 minutes, it's just like a horrible homophobic joke. And I was like, how, how, how in 2023, this is like the top watched movie on Netflix for the past week. And it opens with like the police sitting around at a table, like making this horrible joke. I was just like, this is also completely like has nothing to do with the plot. Like, didn't lead out of or into anything. I was just like, okay, weird flex. But I'm having a very strong opinion about this movie and watching it and just like talking out loud to myself, being like, oh my God, this is so bad. But sometimes it's good to watch movies like that and just like get to make fun of it and like have so much fun.
100%.
Um, but I don't know. I don't know if I had such a strong reaction to No One Will Save You. I was just I didn't really I guess I didn't understand the ending. I'm somebody who my sister is somebody who will think 10 steps ahead in every film and always annoys me because they are like, I know what's gonna happen. I know what's gonna happen. I'm like, okay, I don't. And I'm like the stupidest idiot sitting here watching this movie being like, whoa, whoa. So I watch every movie with that energy of just like a 5-year-old. But they always my sister always has been like, oh, this is what it means and this is where it's going. And I'm sort of like, I guess I've always been in like lived in their shadow. So I'm like, whenever I get like presented with a challenging ending, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. So that's where I was with it. I was just like, I don't know what the ending means. Um, but I'm gonna think about it. I'm gonna stew on it. Um,
Mhm.
uh Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot to think about. I literally like I just finished it too. But yeah, I wanted to know what you thought the ending meant. If we're allowed to do spoilers on this
Yeah, no, we totally can.
podcast. Okay.
So, okay, so for anybody who doesn't know, No One Will Save You is a movie on Hulu about this young woman who lives by herself in a house. She like, I guess she like fulfills, like, I think she like makes dresses or does some sort of seamstress work on Etsy
The
or some shit.
seamstress. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So like, yeah, so like she like lives by herself and like does all this stuff and has like she has like a model, she has like a model like replica of like her hometown that she doesn't really go to anymore because a bad thing that she did as a kid made everybody hate her. And you know, like the and it's an alien home invasion movie. Can't forget that. But like, yeah, I'm a spoil it. So like the whole, you know, like they gradually reveal or like over time you eventually find out that she whether accidentally or not murdered her friend with a rock when they were in the middle of an argument, right? So like the aliens,
And
she
she was like
eventually gets
12. They were 12, right?
right, yeah, they were like 12, 13, whatever. So like, so like the aliens bring her up to the spaceship and they probe her brain, they see the memory, we all see the memory and figure out what it is. And I feel kind of awful because when I found out that information, I was like it was clearly an accident, but like you murdered a child. Like, you know, like you murdered someone.
Yeah.
Like I didn't like it was weird because like I almost feel the same way as you do because like I think I get what the end. It's like the actual ending of the movie after you find out the fact that she murdered her best friend was like the aliens had possessed a whole bunch of people in the town, and they
Yeah.
just decided to keep the people possessed and send the girl back down, not possessed. So she just like lives with all the other possessed people in the town, and that's supposed to be good because now she can go back into town and not feel guilty about murdering a girl with a rock. I
Right.
guess.
Okay.
Like
Tell you what I thought was gonna happen. I
yeah.
thought when they like put their finger on her head and then she had this like flashback and then she was like sitting with herself and she was like it was very clearly a moment where she was like she was looking at her 12-year-old self and she was like I forgive you. And I was like, "Oh, the aliens are like it's like you think they're super menacing, but they're just trying to get everyone on the planet or where or in this town at least to self-reflect and go back to their like most horrible regret and sit with themselves and be like, I forgive myself. And so then everybody is going to be a better person and able to forgive her because they're like, wow, you know, I've seen the error of my own ways and like you made a mistake and like you were 12. I thought that's where it was going. But then there's that scene where she like hangs up the birdhouse and the guy still has the thing in her throat or in his throat. And I was like, oh, they're still like aliens or whatever. They're still like alien puppets or whatever. And that was when I was just like, I don't get it. Like, I guess that's where I was like, oh, I thought it was going to end this one way. And then it like went this whole other way. And I was like, I don't get it. Um, and I kind of liked my, I liked my ending better.
Yeah, I think I like your ending too, because like you were saying it, and I was like, that makes so much sense. Like, of course, like because like for a second I thought you were like explaining something that I just like missed or some shit, but like I don't know, I just have a really hard time, you know, like good, you forgive yourself for, like I just can't. I had a really hard time being like, okay, that was earned. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like it's, you know, like it's not like it's not like they had like a fight or she like said a homophobic joke or something. Like she killed her. Like I just had a really, you know, like it seemed like the movie wanted me to feel sympathy for this person, and I'm like, I don't really like, you know, like I understand why her mom spat in your face when you went to the post office. Like you killed her daughter, you know, like
Right.
whether and you know, it's not like she like ran out into traffic and accidentally got hit by a car. She picked the rock up and smashed her in the, like, I know they were 12, but like, okay, like I'm supposed to feel sorry for you, like.
I didn't feel sorry for her. I definitely didn't feel sorry for her. But this is interesting because this is like a really deep, this is really deep. Like in
Right.
my heart, I like, I guess I'm like somebody who had like not to you have a lot of empathy clearly, but like I do like tend to go so deep with like when I watched that scene of her like smacking her in the head with the rock, I was like, "Oh my God." I was just like, I guess I just went to this place where I was like, imagine being this child with like this rage and it has nothing to do with anyone. You're just like about to get your period or like, I don't know, like all these things are happening to you.
Right,
And
right.
you like make this, you do this one stupid thing and you fucking kill someone. And I was just like, I mean, it's fucked up, I guess. And I was like, okay, it's two things. It's like one, I can be like, "Oh my God, like that's so fucked up. That's so sad. Like, oh my God, she killed her best friend." I feel bad for her 12-year-old self in that she didn't like know what she was doing. But that's me projecting a lot of emotion onto it. But the other thing is there's like no like her only remorse throughout the film is that she like is writing a letter every day. I'm like, "Okay, are you like doing anything else to like better yourself in society and like make up for this horrible thing you did?" I don't know. It was like it was one of those movies that I watched and I was like, okay, there's like I kind of just have to take it as what it is because there's like a lot of disconnected elements that like I wanted to like be with this character, but then I was like, I don't know, were we supposed to like not like her because of the ending?
Yeah, I don't know. Like
Or like the
like that's
aliens
my
like
question.
her? I don't know. Did the aliens like they liked her because they saw themselves in her because they were because they saw she was capable of murder and they were like capable of uh like essentially like I don't know taking over a whole society with like no remorse. I don't know. It's like I don't
Yeah.
think like
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Like it was just at the point where I didn't know what the movie was trying to tell me,
yeah
and that kind of, you know, like that really, that like sullied what would have otherwise been a really cool experience. Because like I'm huge on like I love like gimmicks like no dialogue, and like I'm a big fan of long shots, and like, you know,
yeah
just like the amount of visual storytelling that goes into something with little to no dialogue is really cool. There's a lot of like blocking that needs to be done and extra writing. It's just
yeah
like I'm really like I'm really fascinated by that, and I really love how that was used to really like bring the house to life and make, you know, even like this like young woman fighting a bunch of aliens looks some sort of serious, you know, like they,
yeah
it was like cool and engaging just on that level. And then they had to like take it there. And I don't really feel like, like I feel like they had the idea and they had like the twist in mind, and then they just didn't know how to like tie it up in a bow.
Or
Because like
like
the
they run out
endings,
of time. Like I
right,
think sometimes too, like movies just run out of time and you're like, wait, what? Like, and you can tell like if they had another 20 minutes, it would have made sense.
right, like maybe even 10 minutes. Honestly, like
Yeah, yeah,
it just kind of felt like, yeah, it felt like the guys just had to turn in a script and was like, okay, which
yeah,
is weird because like the movie's like so technically accomplished otherwise. Like it's a really well made movie, just in
yeah,
terms of like it like I've been thinking about it a lot since me and my homie Kyle watched it. But like it's just it I was like this is the first movie I've seen recently that I loved, or maybe not loved, but I really really liked it right up until the ending. Like if the ending were different, I probably would have liked it more. But it just felt like a Twilight Zone episode without a proper ending to
yeah.
me. You know,
I
like
honestly too, I think earlier in the movie, I was like, oh, this person's like, did something terrible, whatever, blah blah blah. But I was like, oh, she's gonna get she's gonna get her ass lit up, like something real bad's gonna happen to her. And then I was like, oh, she's like the hero. Like I was like expecting it to be one of those movies early on that was just like merciless. Like, nope, we're gonna show you like what happens to bad people. And I was just like here for it. I was like, yes, this is like a fucked up movie. But no, it like had to have its like little kind of Hollywood and esque ending. I don't know. It was interesting.
yeah,
But the other last movie, I will say, I don't know how long we have for this question, but I
as
watched
long as you want.
Beau is Afraid. I had a very strong opinion. Did you watch that one?
I still haven't seen Beau is Afraid.
Yeah, we can't talk about it
We
because it.
can because I know how it ends because I looked it up because
Oh,
I've been dragging my feet on seeing it. I have a lot of feelings about Ari Aster. But tell me what you thought about Beau is Afraid.
I thought it was really overwhelming. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I thought, but equally entertaining. Obviously there were some of those like classic moments that were something like absolutely like intense and horrifying happens, and then it immediately moves on to like the next scene and you're like left with just being like, oh my god, like that was so intense. um I thought it was visually pretty stunning. um and I really do like Joaquin Phoenix a lot. Like I'm a big Joaquin Phoenix fan.
Yeah, he's
Always
fire.
always have been, always will be. He's in one of my favorite movies of all time. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm not like, oh, this is what it means. Like, I truly, it's again another movie where I was like, man, that is like, there's a lot going on, and I could say a lot of things about it, but I mostly just like was following it for like the visual journey and like the horror, like just the like outrageous, like horror aspect of it, and like also the weird comedic aspect. I just thought like it was fascinating, but I don't know that I would say it was like it was certainly engaging through the whole. I was like engaged. I watched the whole thing. I like didn't look at my phone, which I can always tell is like the thing that I know I'm like into a movie. I'm just not like on
That's
Twitter.
right.
But like, could I tell you what it's about? No, not really. Like, I don't really think I was its target audience, to be honest. Like, I will say this, it felt very masculine to me. And I don't really know what that means exactly when I say that. It's a feeling that came with watching it. And I think, like, also my boyfriend seemed to connect to it more deeply than I did. I was more just like, whoa, this is like a circus. Um, so that was interesting, but I don't know. The director is a man, right? That director who you
Yeah,
yeah, and
Ari Aster. Yeah,
he did Hereditary, right?
and Midsummer. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like both of those films also have a sort of masculine perspective on female emotions. I will say, I'm not saying that in like a way where I'm like offended by it. I just think it's like, it's like a little like it's a little tropey,
I would
but
agree with that. Yeah,
that's not to say that I didn't like those movies. I fucking love Hereditary. It's like, I think that's probably one of the most terrifying movies I've ever seen.
That's to me, that's his best thing. Like I haven't seen Bo is Afraid. I know what happens, but I can't like really like speak on it because I haven't seen it. Even though I know he fights a penis monster at the end, and I'm like that's the thing that kind of got me. I'm just like, we're like, really, like a penis monster.
Wasn't my boyfriend turned to me, he was like, "Wait, what?" And I was like, "I don't know."
I was like, you couldn't possibly be more obvious and like a penis monster. Like like I feel like a joke. Like
it was, and it was like, when you see it, you'll be like, oh my god, like it feels like it's meant to be a joke, like the way it is, it looks, and yeah, it's like, it's super goofy. It comes off as super goofy.
That's wild. But yeah, no, Hereditary is fantastic. One of my favorite horror movies of the last probably, like, how long has it been since Hereditary came out? Like 5, 6-ish years, something like that.
Longer than that. I remember watching it because it had to be like 2016. Could it have been that long ago? No, right?
2018. So it's been 5 years.
I watched that by myself. I completely traumatized myself by doing that. The one part of me was like, I have to stop watching this. It's so scary. And the other part of me was like, I can't look away.
Yeah, no, it's a real intense movie. It's very good, but like, like you will be up thinking about just, and there's so many reasons why. Like there's like 18 reasons why that movie is fucked up. But I think to me, that's the best. Well, I mean, until I see Bo is Afraid, that's the best time. Or what am I trying to say? That's the time when everything he was trying to say about a thing kind of came together the way I felt it needed to. I thought Midsummer was a little shaky in that regard, especially towards the end. I don't know if you saw his first short that he made, There's Something Wrong with the Johnsons.
I may have. I would have to see pictures from it to know if I've seen it, but that sounds super familiar to me.
So it's a short film. Oh, I don't even want to fucking say what it's about. It's a film about a father and a son and their unorthodox relationship. Let's put it that way. And once again, like, it's on YouTube. Go find it if you want. I'm warning you, it's like the most like edgelordy, shock for shock's sake, like crazy shit you'll ever see in your life.
I don't know. Like, do it. I don't know.
It's not like, for you and anybody listening, if you've never seen it, try it, I guess, but like, don't say I didn't warn you. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But like, that was like, seeing that, I was like, oh, this guy is just, like, you could tell through all of his movies, he's trying to provoke people. He's like he's trying to poke and prod and challenge, and like trying really hard. Like it's like he feels like he tries too hard for me sometimes. Like, it's just so overt and just like beating you over the head, and like not in a way that, because like there are plenty of people I love who beat you over the head with their shit, but I guess I just don't like the way he specifically beats people over the head with their shit. Like we were talking about how you could tell that like Hereditary and Bo is Afraid had very masculine perspectives, and I can also tell that they're very like white perspectives as well. Like, particularly when it comes to There's Something Wrong About the Johnsons, because it's a black family. But yeah, like I said, like I'm afraid I'll get put on a list.
Really that wow. Now I feel like I have to watch it now because you're talking about it, and I'm like, oh, this sounds like I need to like see it to really dissect it. But I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. All I'm gonna say is I feel like talking about it on a microphone, I feel like I'd get put on a list if I did it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, you know what? I'm about to say something. I'm gonna say something really dark. You can cut it out if you want, but something I will say about stuff like that and films like that. Like, my boyfriend brought up the film Happiness last night, and I was like, oh, that one is really, I was like, I can't, like, it makes me physically ill to think about.
Same. And fantastic movie though. Really great movie. But
no, I hear you. I totally hear you. And I will say, okay, side story. This is a story I told my boyfriend last night. He brought up that movie, and I was like, you know what's interesting? One time I matched with someone on Tinder, who when it was like we matched and it was like one of those things. I don't know if you've ever been on Tinder, but it was like one of those things where you like are like, hey, and you're like really nice, and the person acts like, why are you bothering me? Like, the vibe was like, oh, you're bothering me. And I was like, what is going on? Didn't we just match on Tinder? But I was like, oh, like, tell me one cool thing about yourself or something. And his story, I feel like he's gonna be like here. I feel like first he's gonna like hear this podcast. Calling me out. They're calling me out. That he said, my dad was the producer of the movie Happiness, and he put me on the cover of the like Teen Beats, like that magazine that was supposed to be like a teen beat that the dad like buys and then like goes into the car. That's that horrible scene. That's like,
No, stop it.
and I was like,
No.
okay. And I was like, hey, that's not really cool to me. That's really upsetting. And
That's
I think,
awful.
yeah, and I like didn't want to be a jerk, but I was like, I think that like that maybe is a trauma. That could be a trauma. I don't know, but like I don't think we're a match. And I was like, nice to meet you. But I was like, whoa, it was like layers of this, you know what I mean? Like layers of darkness that was like, oh, here's the movie, but then the real life like story on top of that. Unless he was totally making it up and fucking with me, which I just thought like maybe he was fucking with me.
Who knows?
But anyway, okay, what I was actually gonna say that's actually really dark is okay.
That wasn't it.
I'm sorry. Oh my god, they're gonna be like, really fucked up.
I'm ready. Let's go.
I did like sex work for a while, and I will say I did mainly phone sex and camming. And I guess for me, it's like the things that come up in that world that you have to be like ready for and like ready to be like, we are not going there. You can find another person to do that for you. It just makes me watch films like that, and I'm like, I just think about the men who make them, and I'm like, do you really know like what you're getting into, and how do you know what you're getting into? And like, because I feel like a little bit like I was on like the front lines in in that situation to deal with a lot of things that like, again, it comes up for me where I'm like, okay, this is like disgusting to me. Like this, like, not disgust. It's so horrible to say like someone is disgusting. Like but it's like, this is a bad thing. Like we can all agree this is like bad. But like, oh my God, also like, did you ask to be born like this? It's like a whole like fucked up, weird like debate. And like, I don't know, when I watch films like that, it's like I have a visceral reaction where I'm like, this makes me feel sick because it's wrong. And then like I start to feel like, because I have so much fucking empathy, I start to like feel for both, and I'm like, okay, I can't even watch.
I get it.
It's bringing up like too much like emotional empathy for like the wrong person, and I'm like, this should go to like my friends and my family, and like I don't know. That's like, but I do like feel like just from being in that world, I'm like sometimes like the men who make these films that are like so taboo and like challenge you, I'm like, dude, like, have you ever like been in the fucking trenches of like dealing with these actual men who have these desires? Because it's really dark, and it's like, I don't know, that's like my 2 cents about films like that. Like I know Happiness is like a revered movie, like it's definitely like a well-made film, but like it definitely brings up things for me that I'm just like, I guess that's the real horror film for me, a film like that. The real horror, like something that I just can't sit with. I just like, it makes me so deeply uncomfortable that it brings up it brings up like my darkness, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or
definitely.
like what is my darkness, you know? That's like what a real horror film does, I guess. I don't know if any of that sounded totally cuckoo, but
No, you're good. Like I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, no, it's like I tend to I don't want to say I tend to not gravitate towards stuff like that anymore, but like the first time I saw Happiness, I was in like high school, and
yeah,
you know, like it's very much like it's not a movie that I'm ever like jonesing to watch again, but it's
right.
one that I watched it and I was like, oh, like I could tell this guy really wanted people to like sit with not just like these people who are monsters, but like really, like you said, like it's very much a movie that wants you to like empathize with them a little bit, like, and like kind of sit and interrogate with what that means to you, and like whether or not that makes you uncomfortable. It's like I it's so much, and it's yeah, I get it.
What
Like
did you like about, like, what spoke to you when you were in high school, like watching that movie? Like, what were you like? It's
man.
like made you think like, oh, this is a great movie. I'm just curious.
Um, I want to say just the I want to say just the fact that it was kind of willing to go places that I had never even fucking dreamed a movie like that
Yeah,
could go. And on top of that, just like the acting is phenomenal. It's like
right.
really, really difficult to get people to, like there's like certain characters who you're supposed to sympathize with, and certain characters that you're not supposed to sympathize with, but you do anyway. And a lot of that has to do with the actors.
Yeah.
I just like,
Acting is really good. I agree. I remember that
yeah,
about.
yeah, I just like, like thinking back on it, it's not the type of movie that I'm gonna like go back and watch, or like even recommend that people. I'm like, I've recommended it recently, but I feel like, like thinking about it more recently, I've like probably won't be doing that anymore. It's just, I don't know. It's just one of those like, oh, this is a weird warped take on the human condition. Like
Yeah.
when you're like just first figuring out what that means, like stuff like that. And like all of I don't know how many other Todd Solondz's movies you've seen, but he's kind of like, he does a lot of that stuff in
What
all
else
of
has
his
he
movies.
done?
What else? He did palindromes, storytelling,
Oh, I've seen storytelling,
uh
but I don't remember it. It's in.
welcome welcome to the Dollhouse.
Oh yeah. I
Um
mean, I feel like we've all seen that movie, right?
yeah, yeah,
That
yeah,
movie
yeah.
was like big for me when I was a kid. Welcome to the Dollhouse. I
That
loved
was
that film.
that was the first one he made before he made Happiness.
Okay. I think
I'm still recording. Sorry, what?
that's okay. Stylistically, I really loved Welcome to the Dollhouse.
Hmm.
And like the angst of the main character, I was just like, yeah, no one fucking loves me. Like I felt for her so much. And also just like this codependent, weird, like troubling, not weird, it's not a weird relationship, but like a troubling relationship with like a very kind sort of like borderline abusive older boy, but he's also abusive because he, like obviously like hurt people. So it's like this
Yeah,
whole, I don't know, like the whole thing about it, I'm just like, yeah, I understand why that movie spoke to me so much. But yeah, not to say I don't want to sound like I'm like also just a note because I overthink everything. I have like I also have empathy for people who are victims of experiences that are very troubling, and like I'm
right.
not like empathizing with perpetrators over victims. Like that's never where I'm coming from, but it is like when I am presented with the moment of like being like, this is asking me to like look at this other perspective. I'm like, I can't do it, which is ultimately why I couldn't continue with that work that I was doing. I was like, I can't hold space for these people. It's just like too much. Um, so anyway, yeah, like really dark film. um,
Yeah.
we went to a really dark place. Sorry.
Oh no, it's all good. This is all like interesting stuff, and like really, like it's definitely worth interrogating why people like this sort of stuff.
Yeah,
Like it's like it's all entertainment at the end of the day, and everyone's opinion and perspective on that will vary, but like
yeah,
sometimes it is just worth it to just like sit down and be like, why do you like this thing?
yeah.
Like like especially when it comes to stuff that's like very, very real like that. Um it's there's I just appreciate you. We're I haven't even asked you my second question yet, and we've
Yeah,
already like
sorry, I have like so
no, don't, this is what this is
I
for.
love movies. I love like talking about the human condition. So I'm like, this is like my bread and butter. Like I just love
Hell yeah.
it.
Man, I love to hear that. So let's run it all the way back with you in that case. What's the first movie experience you can remember having? It could be at the
Well,
theater, it could be at your cousin's house. First thing that comes to mind.
yeah, my first like this is like a joke. Sorry if like anybody listening is like rolling their eyes because they've heard the story, but it's like My first film experience is like my first memory was when I was like probably 5, and I remember watching Silence of the Lambs with my
Okay.
sister, who's 5 years older than me. My sister was covering their eyes like this, like, tell me what happens next, what happens next, and was asking me to describe every scary part of the movie to them. I was obsessed with that movie as a child. Like, and this is I'm not making this up. This is like a very real fucked up thing about me. And my aunt, who is a like lovely, flowery, like super like just like happy, cute, like sweet lady, took me and my cousins to the videotape store to rent one movie, and everybody picked like a kids movie, and I picked Silence of the Lambs, and she was so worried about me. She like sat my mom down and she was like, Lindsay picked Silence of the Lambs to watch, like, is everything okay? Like, and my mom and dad were just like not helicopter they're like the opposite of helicopter parents. They're like, oh yeah, she's fine, that she's totally fine, whatever. But that's like my first memory of like film was like watching and like other movies too, like watching them with my sister and having my sister be like, "Oh my god, describe it to me. It's too scary." And I would be like, "Well, like they're pulling a moth out of her throat." Like I don't know, whatever happens in that movie. Um but I was just like always really drawn to like very very dark things from a very young age. For whatever reason, I just like it always and now I have this like, sorry to just like keep talking, but now I have this like inner debate around true crime, right? Because it's like, or that's not true crime, but like anything, it's like in the realm of true crime. It's like, well, now
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's so like exploitative, and like, like the Dahmer series, for example, I'm like, oh, that's disgusting. Like they didn't
Mm.
even talk to the families. Like it's just like you watch it and you're like, this is just like porn, like trauma porn for people who like worship serial killers, which is super fucking gross to me. Um, but then there is this part of me that's really, I wouldn't say with like Dahmer, but like with like true crime, like there's this show I watch called like Mind of a Psychopath, and it's like walking you through what it's like to interview a psychopath, like in the interrogation room, and it's like so fascinating to me. And so like I struggle where I'm like I want to hold, like I don't want to come off as like this piece of shit like person who like has no feelings. Like I can just watch true crime and be like, but like then there's this other part of me that's like is really fascinated by it. And I think for me, like it comes down to this like human condition thing. I don't know. It's something from a young age, something being fascinated with psychology. I don't know. Anyway, that's my first memory of film.
Yeah, no, it's like, like there's definitely a connection there, because like I want to say that I can't remember exactly the first time I watched Silence of the Lambs. It might have been when I was a teenager. I might have been somewhere between like 15 and 18 years old.
Yeah.
I was definitely still in school. And the one scene, I mean, like I love the whole movie, but like the one scene I always remember being like super gassed about was the scene where Buffalo Bill and Clarice are in the basement, and
Oh,
he's got the night vision goggles on, and it's just like it's all from his perspective, and like that's just like that's one of my favorite scenes in a horror movie ever. Like
oh,
I love that they decided to do that from his perspective, and just like like have her just like looking horror. It's just like really really great choice there. But yeah, like I don't necessarily have the same relationship with true crime, but I know a lot of
yeah.
people who do. My sister loves it, my partner loves it, like all that stuff. So it's like, like once again, like you said, it's always worth it to just kind of like figure out where your line is. And I feel like for a lot of people of a certain age, like Silence of the Lambs was probably a lot of people's first exposure to that kind of entertainment in any
Yeah.
way. Like it's like that movie is so like like everybody knows who Hannibal Lecter is.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows Clarice. Everybody knows it puts the lotion on its skin. And it's
Right,
just like,
right.
yeah, like not to call that like a gateway or anything, but like it's just like always really fascinating to like see like I don't even know how to say. I don't even know how to say what I want to say. Like forget the gateway shit. It's just like, ah, man, I
I
feel like
mean,
I had another point.
I think you're right. Like, I can't think of another. I'm like, okay, what's another film from that time that was like as sensational and taught like had the same storyline going on and like as captivating of characters, because like Hannibal Lecter's captivating, but also Buffalo Bill's really captivating, but also Clarice Starling is really captivating, you know, like every
Right.
character's really like captivating in that film. And I don't know, I can't think of another film that's like I guess I can, like, what's that movie with Sharon Stone where they're like trying to figure out if she killed her lover. That was a
Basic
big one.
Instinct.
Basic Instinct. But that
Yeah.
wasn't as like, I don't know, it didn't have the same uh I don't know, element of like I don't know how to, I don't know. I actually don't know. I don't know what to say about like comparing those two movies. Like, what did Basic Instinct lack for me that like Silence of the Lambs had? I don't know. I can't say. I'd have to think
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I don't really know either because it's been I think I've seen Basic Instinct like once and it was on TV. I might not have even seen the whole thing.
I think
Like
it's really boring, actually. It's actually
it
I think it's a
it
boring
kind of yeah it kind of seems like that, like, you know, like I hate to say it like this in this context, but I feel like the only reason most people even remember it is because of the whole Sharon Stone being interrogated and crossing her
yes.
legs thing. That was a huge deal. I mean, like I wasn't in. I'm not. Like, I wasn't in the theater at the time watching it, but I feel like most people would talk about it because of that. And it's like, you
Right.
know, like once again, I don't have enough of a frame of reference for the movie to really be able to like say anything definitively.
I
But
watched
yeah,
it recently and it was pretty, I was like, I'm pretty bored. But Silence of the Lambs, I could watch it like over and over again. Like that movie
great
is
movie.
so captivating to me. Anyway, maybe it's just like hits something from my childhood. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like on top of that, it really is just like an extremely well-made film. That was one of Jodie Foster. No, it wasn't her first. It definitely wasn't her first. But it was like one of it was the one that won her Oscar. I know that much. Uh,
Yes. She won an Oscar from that?
I'm pretty sure. I know Anthony Hopkins definitely did. I'm gonna go double
Ugh,
check real
we
quick.
love Anthony Hopkins. I love an Anthony Hopkins moment in
I know.
anything. Just love
Yeah,
him.
yeah. It's I'm realizing now it's been a minute since I've seen him in anything. But yeah,
I think
he's
he's
one.
much older. I don't know. He's like, I think he's probably retired, right?
Uh,
He's got to be
he
in his 80s.
he still pops up every once in a while. He still pops up
Okay.
every once in a while.
I mean,
Um,
did you see the any of the sequels to to like the Hannibal? Oh, those were
I
bad.
I seen them all. I actually really liked this. I liked Hannibal quite a bit,
Okay, maybe
but
I'll rewatch. Okay, I'll rewatch it. I'll rewatch it.
I hated Hannibal Rising. I thought Hannibal Rising was trash,
It was so bad.
so bad. Also, yeah, Jodie Foster, and Anthony Hopkins both won Oscars that year for Silence of the Lambs.
Okay, so it was like a sensational movie. Like people were
Yeah,
loving that movie. It was like what, 93 or something?
yeah, not 92. Hang on, I got the page open. It's 91 actually,
91. Okay,
the
yeah.
year before I was born. Yeah.
So yeah, I might have been even um yeah, I might have been even younger than 5. But anyway, I yeah, that was like my earliest. I don't remember like being super into a lot of kids. I was never like into, I'm not not trying to be like I was too smart for the kids world, but no, I definitely like always gravitated towards more mature storylines, and I don't know, it always fascinated me. So,
Yeah, no, I get it. And like it's crazy because like Hannibal and Hannibal Rising both kind of got a little like Hannibal's definitely a schlockier movie
yeah.
compared to Silence of the Lambs, and I still thought it worked for the most part. You know, like it ends with bro eating his brain, like,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
like, yeah, you know, like there's no moment in Silence of the Lambs that's even close to that. Like even the scene where he winds up eating the dude's tongue, That
Yeah,
was his tongue, right? Yeah, right. So
I
like
can't
even
remember,
that, so
but
yeah, like even that was like so scaled down, and like that,
isn't
it
it
definitely
Ray
felt
Liotta
more.
too? It's like Ray Liotta.
I'm pretty sure it's Ray
Oh my
Liotta.
god.
Yeah,
Actually, I love it. I might have to rewatch it. I love Ray Liotta too. Like what
yeah.
oh my god. That would start me on a whole other conversation talking about Ray Liotta movies.
Yeah, no, he was. I mean, obviously, he just passed away, so rest in peace.
Yeah.
But I think he was in did you see Cocaine Bear that came out earlier this year?
Yes, he was in Cocaine Bear, right?
Yeah, he was in Cocaine Bear.
Yeah, me and my boyfriend were
He
like,
was
wait,
the
what? Like he's
he was
alive? Like,
he was the mobster drug dealer dude. That was the last movie he made before he passed.
well, RIP, that is a solid role to end your career on. And Ray Liotta's career at that. I mean,
Right. Like
we
doing cocaine with bears seems like a pretty nice way to end shit, you know?
yeah, for sure. For sure, definitely.
So like so you know, like as you get older and just start to have more life experiences in general, like was there I mean like were there any other movies, or if you want to talk about Ray Liotta here you can, that just like stuff that really like connected with you on like a deeper level than just like as a piece of entertainment, whether that be like artistically,
Yeah.
emotionally, like what aesthetically, whatever, you know?
Okay, we watched like a lot of TV in my house growing up. So much TV. Like I said, my parents were just like whatever, like they weren't I don't know want to say they weren't around. They were just like doing their own thing. And my sister and I were parked in front of the TV like all the time. Um so as I got older, I want to say in high school, I sort of like stepped back from what I was like, became like sort of like artsy and was like, I don't like mainstream television is terrible or whatever. And I started like branching out and watching like more artistic films and I didn't have much of a relationship, I would say, to television. That's not true. In high school, I would say my friends and I got really into the mockumentary genre,
Hmm. Good
which
stuff.
is just like giddy and delightful, if you're in the mood for it. And
Truly.
we would like make our own movies that were like quote unquote mockumentaries. And so we loved like Christopher Guest. I think I got really into comedy because like high school is really hard for me. So I think anything that made me laugh or like cheered me up, I was into. And then I like, of course, had to have like my artsy moments and like probably had my Garden State moment because that's what you do when you're from New Jersey.
Ready.
um, but I don't know, like one film that comes to mind for like I think that like really again kind of moving into the true crime genre. Sorry, it's a theme.
It's all good.
Is it this a movie that like I still love. So I think it's still maybe my favorite movie, but I think it's perfectly cast, which maybe you know what I mean when like you watch a movie and you're like, okay, the acting is really good, or the acting is like a mixed bag. However, every single person who is cast in this movie is just the perfect person to play this role. Like it's just like such a good match. It's this movie To Die For. Have you ever seen this movie?
I've never even heard of it, I don't think.
It's from I think it's from 1995. It's like a young Joaquin Phoenix, Casey Affleck, Nicole Kidman, Matt Dillon, more people who I really like who I can't think of their names, but
Mhm.
ooh, you should watch it. It's good.
Ooh, I'm looking at it right now. Satirical
It's
black comedy by Gus Van Sant. I've never heard of this.
yes, it's a
What
Gus
is
Van
this?
Sant film. So
Crazy.
it's based on a an actual like sorry to spoil it for you, but it doesn't really spoil it. The movie's really good. A woman in Maine, or I think it was in Maine. Yes, she.
It says here it's New Hampshire.
Oh, New Hampshire. Okay, same freaking difference. No, I'm kidding.
Right. Yeah, yeah,
Sorry, guys. No, this woman had like dated this guy who like she has like she's like one of those people who's like wildly narcissistic and like ambitious and wants to be like a national weather girl and marries this like kind of like guy who's like just like a towny guy, like is happy with, he like owns a restaurant. He's just like happy with his life, wants to have some kids. And basically the film unfolds of like he gets murdered, and it's like they like know it's her, but they can't figure out like how to pin it on her. And then there's this twist at the end that didn't actually happen in real life, but it's a really good one. But it's just like a very entertaining film. Like I just remember like it was one of those films that I just like felt so, I was just so into it. I thought Nicole Kidman was like mind-blowingly good for the movie. And I think that started me on my Nicole Kidman kick too. Like I just love Nicole Kidman. I think she's like totally, I wouldn't say I think she's like, I just think she's really good at playing an unhinged character very well, but she's
Definitely.
probably like really put together. And side note, one time I sat next to her at a coffee shop in Nashville, and she had very beautiful skin. I will say that.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, yeah. The the one thing I do appreciate about her AMC ads is that her skin does look
Her
fantastic.
skin is
So
glowing. I'm sorry, I'm an
yeah.
esthetician, so I have to be like, whoa, that's her skin. It's unbelievable. What
Right.
is she doing? But yeah, it's a really good movie. I think like I went through my 6 Feet Under era, which I know is not a movie, but it's a series. Have you ever like seen that series?
Which one? I'm sorry.
6 Feet Under.
I never finished it, but my dad liked it a lot, so I would watch. It
Oh,
was one of those shows I kind of like absorbed through osmosis, but never like sat down
yeah.
to
How old are you?
I'm 31.
Oh, okay. So yeah, different time. Like it would have been, it was like just about like I didn't watch it in real time, but it would have been like way out of real time for you. But I
Definitely.
like caught it a few years. I was like, oh, everybody's watching 6 Feet Under when I was in like maybe high school. And then I started watching it maybe around 20, and I was like, oh my God, the show is so fucking good. Um,
I've heard nothing but good things, but I
yeah,
just never checked
it's
it.
so good. Again, another show where everybody's so perfectly cast, and like it is really dark and it's really depressing, but it's also like so funny. Um, yeah, really good show. And like I think to my number one series, which again, sorry, it's not a movie, but like The
It's
Sopranos
okay.
just is like one of my favorite pieces of art like ever made. I
Right.
think
Your name is Carmela Soprano on Twitter. So
yeah,
yeah, that makes
I'm
sense.
obsessed with The Sopranos. I've probably seen it like 3 times, watching it a fourth time now with my boyfriend. Um, I could just watch it for the rest of my life and never get bored because there's so many little things that are said, little lines that are written that are just so fucking funny. And like it's also really fucked up and like, just like, but it like lets you go there. It's not trying to not be fucked up. I will say
Right.
the movie, I forget what it was called, the film that came out that was like the Sopranos
Oh
movie.
yeah, the one with his son where he was young
Oh yeah.
Tony.
I mean, his son is a good actor. He was in something else that I was like, "Oh, he's a good actor." But that movie was so bad. But
Yeah.
it
So I
was a
heard.
riot. I enjoyed watching it, but it's a bad movie. It's definitely, don't see it for like the quality of film. Like see it so you can kind of like joke around about it.
Right. So I'm gonna tell you something that's probably gonna have you be pretty mad at me. I've never finished The Sopranos, and
That's
like
okay. I've
I'm
heard it before.
I'm and like I'm from the area where like all of that was going down. Like they shot the finale at like a diner in my hometown. Like I'm like from that specific area of
I know
Jersey.
we talked about this briefly, like maybe sometime. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Um,
May that
okay,
maybe
why?
we did.
No, why? I'm curious. Why did what? Because the first time I tried, I didn't finish it, and then I tried again, and I was like, oh. But I'm curious, like, what for you was like? You were like, ah, it's good.
So it wasn't even so much like I didn't think it was good. Once again, that was another show that was like it was on. People I knew watched it. People I knew who were older than me watched it, and like I absorbed some of it through osmosis. And of course, like because I lived in that area, like like everybody knows The Sopranos, But like
Right.
I just never I never took the chance to sit down and have my own like I'm gonna watch this now. Like
Yeah.
it's been on my list for years. Like I promise you, like at least a decade. I'm like, I'm gonna start The Sopranos. I'm gonna start The Sopranos. I promise I'm gonna do it. And then of course, like over the pandemic, everyone started watching and talking about The Sopranos for
Oh,
some reason.
really?
And
Oh,
yeah, it was like a whole thing. Like people like my age and a little younger, it was like everybody was watching and talking about The Sopranos. There was like every kind of meme you could imagine. Like it was really crazy. But like I just never got the chance to really sit. Like I love the character of Tony. I love the clips I've seen. It's just I just never sat down and said I'm gonna commit to watching The Sopranos. Like it's
yeah.
gonna happen at some point, but and like I said, it has nothing to do with the quality of the show or any sort of issue. I literally just haven't sat down and tapped in and been like, I'm doing this, you
Oh my
know.
God. Yes, your time is gonna come. You're gonna just one day be like, I am ready. Also, I want to send you this article. I forget who wrote it, and I forget what I think it came out in like 2021. But it was like an article about how queer The Sopranos is, and it's
Oh,
such a good article. I mean, it's like obviously it's like not, it wasn't
yeah.
intended to be, but it was like The Sopranos through a queer lens, and it was such an amazing read. But I want to send it to you because I feel like you would really appreciate it. And it just made my love for the show. I was like, yes, this is why I'm obsessed with The Sopranos. Like all of this, like, oh man, yeah. I'll send it to you after we're done.
Yeah,
Um,
please. That's tough. Yeah, I definitely want to read that. That sounds great.
yeah,
But before we move on, my favorite. Well, it's funny because there's been a couple of instances where like The Sopranos has like been in my ear and in my eyes recently. So first and foremost, um, my boys Theravada and Zumo put out a project called Waste Management earlier this year that's super fucking dope. And at the
yeah.
end of one of my favorite songs, there's a sample of Tony with the therapist, and it's the part where she's just like, "Are you in the mafia?" And then there's a 10-second pause, and he's like, "Am I in the what?" And like the song just ends. It's like I just love that moment. It's
Yeah.
super great. And then of course the fucking anything Gabagool related makes me
Oh
fall on the
yeah.
floor.
The
So like see like there's the scene where like he's in the diner and he just goes up and he's just like Gabagool, provolone and vinegar peppers. Like I say that shit. I say that shit all the time to the point where people look at me like, "What the fuck are you still saying that, son?" Like,
Yeah. Have you seen
so like,
like the YouTube mashup of like every time Tony says gabagool or someone says gabagool? Also, there's this really good YouTube mashup of every time, every back pat, like every time a man hugs another man and pats his back. It's so good, dude. Like
that's
that type of
fire.
shit, it's so funny.
Yeah, like it's just like one of those shows that, from what I understand, it's just one of those shows that works on multiple levels. There's
Yeah.
one more thing before we move on. There's like I don't know if you're a game person at all. Do you play games at all?
We're buying our first game console. I'm really excited.
Incredible.
I'm about to be a game person. We
I
decided
I,
we want to play video games.
I
So
I
I'm
assume I assume you're getting a PS5.
Oh, no, we don't know what to get. We're like, I feel like
Oh,
we're
okay.
like first time
Okay.
home buyers. I'm like, what do we buy? And I'm asking everybody, and they're like, oh, definitely an Xbox. And you're like, no, definitely get a PlayStation. And I'm like, which one do we choose? I don't know. What is your opinion?
I'm gonna tell you, get a Switch.
Oh, okay.
Get a Nintendo Switch. Like I have a PS4. I've been I've been playing games forever, but like that's like a there's so many different I mean there's different kinds of games on everything, but like the Switch is I love my Switch. I bring it with me everywhere I go. Like if I'm at a show, I have my Switch. Like it's just like in
Yeah.
my bag. I could pull it out between sets sometimes and just play games. But like it's like I would say either a Switch or a PS5,
Okay.
because I've been a I was an Xbox loyalist for years, and then the PS4 was way better than the Xbox One, and I was like, I've had plenty of game systems in my life, but like the PS4 is one that I've been like really I've been attached to it, and well, like because it's also like I watch my movies and TV on my PS4 too, so it's like a home entertainment center type thing as opposed to just a game console. But like, but anyway, I only bring up games because there's this somebody made a mashup of us, The Sopranos and Fallout, where like you're in like a specific part of the game, and it's the I forget the scene, but it's like a scene with like Tony and two other dudes or one other guy, and like
Mm-hmm.
Tony's like they're like laughing and having a conversation, and then Tony just looks off into the distance and then just starts running, and and the other, I don't know, I don't have any context. I can't tell you what the scene is, but
I can't
I'll
think
find
of it.
I'll find the video and send it to you later because it's so funny to me.
Oh, I actually know exactly what scene you're talking about. Wow, I can't believe
So
I just got there.
that's hilarious. I'm that way with The Simpsons. That's so funny. So
Oh,
like,
that's funny.
but,
I've never watched The Simpsons, so
oh,
challenge each other.
all right, yeah, no, you go on Disney Plus and run some Simpsons, and I'm gonna start The Sopranos at some point.
Okay,
But
I love it.
so there's this like big ass like lizard monster in Fallout that like destroys this town. There's like a whole level dedicated to it, so they just put that scene like with like the lizard monster, and it's like everyone being chased by the lizard monster, and the guy's just like, "Oh Jesus
Oh,
Christ!" and they run away. It's great. I
I
don't know.
love that. That sounds so funny. I'm like a fantasy game person. Like I want to play like fantasy games. Like
Mhm.
I want to be like in another world. Like I want my character to look like a beautiful, like non-binary, like freak of the world. And my boyfriend, my partner is very much into like war games and like Grand Theft Auto. And I'm like, okay, cool. We have to find like the happy medium that what console will work for both of us.
Y'all want a PS5
Okay. All right.
because
Is it cheaper
because
than the Xbox? The Xbox is
they're
so
probably
expensive.
they're probably about the same price. I think they're both about $500,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
The
yeah.
Xbox was 550. I was like, okay. That's it.
You
I
know,
mean, I thought it was gonna be. I don't know why. I was like, it's like $100. Like, little do I know anything about anything.
but nah, but yeah, no, you want a PS5 because like you'll be
Okay.
able because like you can play a game like Baldur's Gate, which just came out. I have a lot of friends who've been playing Baldur's Gate, and that's basically everything you're looking for right there. And then of course, you know, like
Great.
you got like Call of Duty and all that other shit that you can. You might even be able to do that on Xbox too, but like no, but like since I have the most recent experience with PlayStation, I'm gonna recommend you get a PS5.
Yeah. Okay.
And
All right.
and it
Cool.
and it comes in two versions. There's one that comes with a disk drive and one that doesn't come with a disk drive. The one that doesn't come with a disk drive is $400, but the one
Oh,
with the disk drive is $500. So it's up to you, you know.
okay. I'll do a little research. Thank you for that. I
And
haven't my the person who I work out with was like, you gotta get an Xbox. And I was like, I don't know. Like everybody's telling me different things. But anyway, no, yeah, I trust you more than I don't know. I trust you more because I don't know, I just feel like you know things. You are knowledgeable.
some, sometimes, sometimes I know things and I'm knowledgeable.
You're a journalist. You're smart. You're always cooking in there. You know, always cooking in your brain.
Yeah, my brain is always on. That's I know that's right.
I can tell that about you. I can just like that's like a vibe. Like not in a bad way. I think like I'm similar where I'm like always thinking like but I can tell you're like you're always taking everything in and like processing it, which I appreciate.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's I always am processing everything around me at all times.
Yeah.
It's a lot, as I'm sure you feel me on that.
Yes.
Um, so now let's yeah, now that we're about an hour in, let's jump over
Yeah,
to music.
sorry. Oh my
No,
god.
no, 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 no. This is exactly how this is supposed to go.
Okay, great.
I just so happened to look at the time. When did music? I mean, like music seems like it's been a thing. It's been in your life for like
Yeah.
quite a long time. But like when did like kind of like how we were talking about like when movies became like capital M movies for you? When did music become capital M music for you?
Yeah, music has always been everything, like truly. I come from a musical family. I tweeted about this the other day. I like didn't know it was going to be like as funny to people as it was, but like I grew up in a musical family. My first instrument was the drums. My dad's a drummer, but you know, my dad's one of those people. He plays everything. He's good at everything. He's an amazing musician. He's a very intense musician, which I definitely inherited that. He like expects greatness. And my mom's a vocalist, and my parents have been in a band together since I can remember. Um, and my dad was like in Bruce Springsteen and him had their first band together, like together in
Yeah, you
yeah, I
were talking
tweeted
about
about
this.
it. And
I
I was
remember.
like, I was just saying like when Bruce was like getting to be at a certain level, he asked my dad to join his band again. I think they like had broken up the band, and then Bruce kind of was taking off, and he asked my dad, and my dad is like such a nice guy. He was like, well, I don't want to step on the toes of the current drummer. He's my friend. And I was like, Dad, like, why did you do that? But like, I also think like it was the route. I think my dad took the route he wanted to take, and he wanted a family. He wanted like a slower paced life. But uh so but just saying, like, I grew up in the midst of music. It was just always happening around me. And I was really privileged in that everybody in my family was so musical and so talented. Like, my sister's an amazing vocalist. So we just grew up singing. We grew up um making up songs. Uh, we were writing songs from a very young age, but like I think I got really serious about writing songs when I was 15. Um, and I started touring when I was 17. I started touring the US when I was 17, and then I went to Europe for my first European tour when I was 18, which looking back is like so young. Like,
Yeah, wow. That's
and it's
really
like,
intense.
again, like such a privilege. Like, I mean, a privilege, and also like I think it like probably fucked me up in certain ways because I was like too young to experience all that. Um but needless to say, like it was just like I've been a musician. I mean, music has been it for me for over 20 years. And it's just the thing, I don't know, like just to say, like, I'm sure there's other people listening that feel this way. It's like I keep I have these fears where I'm like, well, if like when I got my esthetician's license, I was like, well, if I get my esthetician's license, am I giving up on music? And it's like these having these people in my life be like, you're never going to give up on music. Music is like your entire identity. Like, you would have to like lobotomize yourself to like not want to play music again. And it's true. It's like music is my constant, music is my religion. Like, music is what I always turn to whenever I get a song idea, or whenever I get like I get this certain ping, and I'm like, it's time to make an album again. It's like, and I interviewed Woods the other day, and we had a little conversation about like when the moment it strikes when you need to make an album again, and just having that ravenous desire to keep making, excuse me, I was drinking something fizzy, to keep making uh albums, and thinking of it more like, and he was like, oh, are you the type of person who thinks of it more like in singles, like you're always cooking a project, or are you the type of person who thinks in albums? And I was like, oh, I'm definitely the type of person who thinks in albums. And I think like Woods and I have that in common. Like, we're into like this entire book of a story, like in album form. And I've always thought that way, and I've always I don't know. I'm working, like, music is my forever love, and I will always work towards, I don't even know what I'm working towards anymore. Like, because like I'm not in a place in my life where I think in my 20s, like I was like, I need to be famous, I need to be recognized for my music. And then I sort of like, I think in my late 20s and early 30s, I was like, the music industry is pretty fucked up. And like, I just went through a lot of experiences where I was just like treated a certain way or dealt with certain people, and just had these experiences that almost completely turned me. I was like, maybe I'll just never release an album again. But then kind of like came back around and was like, okay, well, let's not go there. But maybe the goal isn't like to be famous and to be recognized, and to be asking to be recognized in a certain way. It's like, it's not even up to me. It's not even up to my label. It's like, it's so random who gets recognized sometimes. And like, you
Yeah,
can't, especially as like uh like, I don't identify as a woman anymore, but especially as like a facing person in the world, it's like people
yeah,
expect you to be at war with other, like with women, like, and
yeah.
have
Like
people,
everybody's got to fight for the top spot, and like it
every,
shouldn't be that.
yeah, and it's like there's not enough room. And I don't know, maybe it is like this in rap. Like, I don't know that, like, I'm obviously like friends with a lot of people who make hip hop, but maybe you feel like people feel that way too, like that you're just like, why do I feel like I have to compete for like to be like this person when there's room for all of us? Like there's room for all of us to exist and make our art. And I'm just thinking from like a more like femme perspective. Um, sorry, I'm like rambling now, but music has always been my everything, and I just like yeah, it's throughout my life, like it's been movies, and I've always thought of music as in a very visual way. So movies were really meaningful to me in that respect. Like I appreciated a great soundtrack, and I'm a visual person. If I had endless funds, I would be making music videos like once a month. I fucking love music videos. It's a dying art,
Really.
but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I'm talking myself to death about music, music, music.
No, you're good. This is all good. Yeah. So like, so first and foremost, I didn't realize you'd been making music that long. Like like making music and touring since you were 15. Like that's like a minute. Like that's like it's not like you just yeah. That's like that was something that I had no idea about, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think yeah, and yeah, like sorry, I didn't cut you off, did I?
No, you're good. No, I'm just rambling.
No,
What were you gonna say?
no, I'm sorry. I never want to cut anybody off. I feel terrible about that.
No, you're good.
Um, but yeah, no, I also think about music in visual form. Like whenever I'm listening to a song, like there's always like some visual happening in my head, and I think that just kind of comes down to my relationship with music and movies, because my mom, I also come from a semi-musical family. My dad's been involved in music in some way, shape, or form for damn near 30, 40 years. So like it's like I kind of had that coming in, and that's part of the reason why I sang and played instruments, and I'm here now. So
Yeah.
I completely feel you being like the child of a musician, of one musician, and just like being my mom, who I also love very dearly and also had her own music taste, isn't a musician. But yeah, like yeah, so like when did so like you're touring around, you're
Yeah.
touring fairly young, and you're making music, writing music, doing things. Like when when do you decide that music's going to become more than just a hobby for you? And like when is it, like when do you go from thinking about life in album mode to making albums? Like when did that start for you?
That started so young. I mean, um, I wrote and recorded my first album when I was 17. I went to RISD pre-college for didn't end up finishing real college. Shout out college dropouts. But I went to RISD for like a pre-college in fashion. So fucking amazing. I don't know how I got to do it. Like I'm so grateful to my parents that I got to do it, because I made so many cool friends. It was like me stepping out of like this like boring like suburban life and getting to go be in this place with all these freaky kids that like also were artists. Like it was so cool. Um,
Yeah.
and I met my first boyfriend at RISD, and his dad had a record label, and I am like still friends with his dad to this day. And like his dad just wrote me, he was like, I got my copy of Plus One, which is so sweet.
Oh, it's
But
adorable.
he heard my songs and he was like, I want to record an album with you. And like I don't think I realized like when I was that age how like special that was. I was just like, oh yeah, like I think I've just always been a person who was so like connected to my identity as a musician that I was like, oh yeah, of course I'm going to make an album. Like that's just like what you do. And
Right, naturally.
I made like two albums with this solo project at the time, and then um toured a bunch, and then uh started a prog band, and then was in like a psychedelic rock band, and was just kind of having a lot of fun like in my early 20s. Well, as much fun as you can have when you're just like dealing also with like a lot of PTSD and like unresolved trauma and like drinking too much, but
Right,
that's
right,
another
right.
podcast. But then I think like when I started Fielded, which was when I was like, oh my goodness, I think I was 21, which means it was like many years ago. I'll just say many years ago. Um, I started to feel like it was the first time I was making music that I was like, this is the music I want to be making. And it wasn't like it was like good music. It was like weird, really, some of it was very hard to listen to, very experimental music. Like it started as a noise project. And
Crazy.
yeah, I'm like I think at heart, like I'm a producer. Like my my heart is like when I think of like why I've been drawn to certain hip hop or why I've been drawn to like certain genres of music, it's all around, it all has to do with production. So
Right.
I think when I started Fielded, that was when I was like, that was when I was like, at least I remember being like, I want to be like famous for this, which is so funny to think about. Because fame, it's also funny to think about because the idea, like what fame is, has changed so much from when that was like 2010. Like the idea,
Right.
like fame has like, what is fame even anymore? Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Um,
You know.
and what is the music industry anymore? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like it's changed so much. But anyway, that was probably when I first started being like, I want to be known for this because I think it was the first time that I was like, I'm making the music that I want to be making, even though at times it's been pretty unlistenable. But I've made a lot of progress.
Hey, man, I feel like every creative could say the same thing about a lot of their earlier stuff. But you know, like I'm
Yeah.
sure if I'm like I'm sure if I heard some of your like early shit, like stuff that isn't available on DSPs and on Bandcamp, like I'm sure I'd listen and be like, this is great. You know, like you know, like just to like I can't tell you how many times I have people come up and tell me about like an article I wrote like 7 years ago, and I'm like, you like that shit? Like, what do you
Yeah.
mean? You know, like, I go back and read it and I'm like, I could have fleshed that point out more. This is spelled wrong. Like, why didn't I talk about that? You know, like it's like, you know, it's just like I always think I'm like there's a Fonte bar I always think about where he's just like people hear my shit and they say I'm with the greats. I hear my shit and all I see is mistakes, you know, and it's just like
I
it's
identify with that
oh,
full.
oh my God. It's like I always real quick sidebar, I always feel so seen by Fonse when he talks about being a creative. He kind of gets it in a way a lot of other people don't. So he's an alum of the show. Shout out to Fonse. Love you.
Wow, I love
But
that line. Like I got you gotta
yeah,
send me that song.
I will. I gotta remember which song it is, but I'll send it when I do. But yeah, no, I like it's just you know like even just like listening to like your I was able to run a little bit of a 90-30-30
Oh,
um
yeah.
within the last couple of days and just like you know yeah now like from like I'm like you were just saying I know you produced much of if not all of a lot of your early music and I could tell that you just like your range is it's just all over the place, you know, it's like synth pop stuff, there's definitely prog rock and experimental, like it's just like there's so many different
Mhm.
kinds of sounds, you know, like you know, like and it's I mean like, we'll get to plus one in a little while, but like it was really it was a treat for me to really get to sit with that earliest project and just be like, wow, like you've always been this omnivorous, you know, like this isn't just a thing that started with demisexual Lovelace, like it's you've
Yeah.
always been like this. So you know like especially as a producer, like you know like what pulled you or rather as a singer songwriter producer, like what kind of pulled you in those directions when you were making stuff like 90-30-30 and Eclipse, like what was going on in your mind during those times?
Ugh, I mean, so much like romantic torment and like identity torment and like learning who I was without other people's gaze, I think was huge for me. I mean, I didn't really successfully start detaching from that until very recently. But there's been a theme of that, I think, in all of my work. Um, I think with 90-30-30, yeah, definitely like heavy synth. I probably can't even think of who my influences were at this point. Just because I'm just the type of person who runs, I listen, I devour music, and I just like I'll run through something and love it and be obsessed with it. And 5 years later, like someone will play it for me and be like, oh yeah, like I was obsessed with that album like 5 years ago and just like forgot it even existed, but devoured it enough to like have it influence my album. But yeah, I mean, I think like David Bowie was a really big influence on 90-30-30. I was trying to capture something. I think I'm always trying to capture like the 70s a little bit in my solo work. I wasn't obviously trying to do that on Plus One, but yeah, like the 70s mixed with like 90s like sound collage mixed with like I don't know, like the beats of major pop songs that I loved in like the 2000s, and like I don't know, like Janet Jackson has always been a really big influence. Like I'm always trying to mix. I've always called myself a genreless artist, like always. And I still stand by that. I think moving into yeah, like I think you're talking about like the Eclipse EP, like just like any sort of experimentation with sound or sounds that I liked, I would just go for. I would just commit to, which I have to say, like I am definitely an artist who's like, I could point out like all the mistakes I hear on Plus One. I could do it for you right now. I'm not gonna do that for you, but it's like I am that artist, but I'm also an artist who can kind of look back and be like, I really respect like like looking at myself as a young artist. I always committed to a project and I always released the project just full throttle, like believing in it. And I have to say, like, I have to like look back and be like, I respect that about myself. Like, I never just like chickened out of like, oh, I don't know if people are gonna like this. I'm just not gonna release it. I was always like, nope, gotta release it. It's gotta come out. And um that is really I think that's brave. And like I don't I think like a lot of people curate themselves a lot more, which I also respect a lot. I sometimes wish I was
Mhm.
like that in all aspects of my life. um but I think like what I'm learning as I get older is I'm having like less and less, like, you know, if I had financial resources to, like I said, if I had all the money in the world, I'd be making a music video every month.
Right.
um I would be making a new album every 2 or 3 months. It's the love of my life, but without financial resources and having to have a day job, it's like I can only give my energy to so much. So it's like I have to decide and kind of commit to the thing that's working for me the most. And I think right now, I think being a vocalist is like my strongest. I'm just in a phase. I'm feeling like I need to go back into a producer mode, but I feel being a vocalist right now is like a really strong place that I haven't fully let myself explore without all the weight of self-producing as well. Because I don't know if
Mm.
you've had other people talk about this, but it's like when you're the songwriter, you're the producer, you're recording the album, you're mixing the album, like
Yeah, you do everything.
it's a lot, and you can kind of get lost in the sauce, and the album might not be as strong as you were hoping it would be because having some of that extra input from others being like, oh, I actually put the kick here, whatever. It's like I think I did get to a point when I made Drip Drip in 2018, and that's the year I met Woods and Elucid. I got
Right.
to a place where I was like, I need to collaborate with people. I need help making the albums. I want the albums to be the best possible albums they could be. I don't want to just be, and I think I was like overcompensating too because I was like, I'm a female artist. I need to do everything. I need to prove to the world that I'm like good enough. And I just got to a point where I was like, I don't want to prove shit. Like, I just want to fucking write good songs and I want them to sound.
Right.
And I'm still working on that, but I do feel like right now I'm in my vocalist era. And I just want to work with other producers at the moment. I mean, I'm making an album that is produced by me, but it's going to take a little while. But I just right now I'm like I want to work with producers that just bring out things in me that I didn't even know existed. Because I felt like that came out on Plus One, and that's why that album was so fun to make. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, I was actually gonna ask if because it's been a while since you like produced an album yourself. Like what was the last one, Demisexual Loveless, or did you also produce Young Medusa?
Green helped a lot with Young Medusa.
Okay.
Did my friend David Lochner, who I this new album that I'm finishing now, he actually ended up co-writing the songs with me too. So he went from helping me produce to co-writing with me. Um, you could actually say Dave is actually part of Fielded now, I would say.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, Dave co-wrote most of the songs on he co-wrote a few of the songs on Young Medusa with me. Demisexual Love Voice was the last one where I was like making beats and writing synth lines and chopping stuff up and like sampling stuff. That's like the last time I did that.
Got it. So, like you mentioned, you meet Woods and Elucid in 2018. You come to this realization, like, hey, I need to expand. I need other voices in here. Like not so much guiding you, but just like offering input.
Yeah.
And like, you eventually get to the point where you're on Western Education is Forbidden, which I feel like a lot of other people was my first real exposure to you as an artist. I heard your voice and I was like, oh, who the fuck is that? And then like I would see your name around, and then of course Demisexual Lovelace came out right after.
Yeah.
My good friend Donna Claire Chesman over at, well, used to be at DJ Booth, used to be at Audio Mac, is now out in the world doing other great shit. She wrote up she interviewed you for Demisexual Lovelace, and
Yeah.
um,
She's an
yeah, shout out to her, by the way.
amazing. Yeah, she's amazing. She's so considerate and thoughtful in her writing. I really
Yeah,
appreciate her a lot.
yeah, I'm like beyond inspired by the way Donna writes and how she moves. So yeah, just shout out to Donna one time. But so like before we get to plus one, talk to me about you know deciding to team up with Backwoodz, and just like why you felt like Demisexual Lovelace was where that album needed to be, like with
Yeah,
them.
it's so funny. It's so funny to think about. I think like for like a couple years, I was like, I felt like I needed to explain. Like people would be like, "You're on a hip hop label," and I'd be like, "Well, it's like a long story." Like I would be like, like I met Woods and like and I felt like I needed to like justify myself, and then like it, and now it's like looking back, it's like so funny because it's like, yeah, it's like it's definitely like a departure, I think, for them, but I think every decision that Woods makes about the label, it's like it's coming from his brain. Like there is logic. He's a very logical person. So
Truly.
when I met what I initially met Woods. I wrote to both of them and was like, "Hey, I'm like super into Armand Hammer. Um, I just want you to know, like, if you ever need a backing vocalist, like, I am here for it. Like, here's an album. I sent them Drip Drip, and I was like, this is an album I just put out on Death Bomb Mark, like, blah blah blah, whatever." Woods wrote back like almost immediately, which I was just like, "What? Whoa!" And he asked me, he was like, "Hey, Armand Hammer isn't working on anything, but like, would you maybe want to be on one of my songs?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then we like briefly talked on the phone. I was like very intimidated because he's just a very intelligent person and like lets it be known and like used several words that I was like, what does that mean? But I was like, yeah, I think I get what you're saying. Okay, I think I can go to a place with the song that it needs to go. And he sent me Western Education, and I forget the other song we did together, but um he was like, yeah, like it was like so refreshing to have this. Like I was really intimate. I had had a bad experience doing a feature in the past, and I was worried he was going to be like, well, that's not really what I was looking for, and can you sing it like this? And he just came back and he was like, hell yes, like this is sick, can I send this to Green? And I was like, yeah, great. And I was just making Demisexual Lovelace for fun. Like honestly, me and
Right.
Dave, I was like, Dave, I want you to produce my new record, like co-produce it. I have the songs written. I had just done a residency. I had all these songs written. So we made Demisexual. I sent it to Woods. I don't think I sent it to him with the intention. don't think I was like, oh, will you put this out? Like, I think I was just like, I think I was so over record labels at that point that I was just like, oh, here's an album I made. I don't know. Like, I don't know what to do with it.
Right. Right. Right.
And I remember like Woods calling me I think he had it for like a few months. And he was like, hey, like we had this like long conversation. He was like, so would you let me put Demisexual Lovelace out? And I was like, my initial reaction was like, does that make sense? Like, but then he like broke it down and he was like, I think it's a really good fit. And like, he just had like such nice things. He just believed in it so much. Like, it was like the first time that somebody from a label was like, I really fuck with you as an artist. And like, I think you're onto something. And I don't really know what it is, but I think we can explore it. And like, so we put Demisexual Lovelace out. I think the reaction was like mixed. I think some people were like, who is this person? And then I think some people were like, whoa, cool. And once we did that, then we did Young Medusa, which I don't know how well Young Medusa did, but I'm not like, I don't know. I'm not caught up on that. I love Young Medusa. I mean, I feel mixed ways about Young Medusa. I think the songwriting I was in an interesting place when I wrote that album. But then Woods was like, hey, what if we did this album with like all like the Backwoodz artists that you've like basically like many artists you've done features for, or like done,
Right.
harmonies for, or whatever. And I was like, yeah, okay. And then like started getting beats and was just like, yeah, this is fucking fun. Like I'd never done that before, where you just like sing over a beat that someone sends you. Like super
Yeah.
fun. And so, yeah, honestly, that project it's so full of love because everybody I collaborated with on that album, it's like there's no weird, like it's not weird in any way. Like I fuck with everybody, and I think I want to say, well, I hope that everybody fucks with me. Like it's just an album full of people who respect each other, and
Right.
so yeah, like I think the idea of it can come off a little messy, but I think the execution of it actually is pretty cool and unique. And I think it's interesting. It's like Woods's idea. So I guess what I'll say about Backwoodz is like, I think initially I was like, well, like does this make sense? But like again, it's like Woods is a very logical person, and he had this vision of like moving into territory. He was like, I know you're capable. Like he said this to me recently. He was like, I know you're capable of so much as an artist. Like you're actually pretty fucking weird. And I don't think people realize that about you. And so why don't we like start trying to do these like one-off projects where like you can execute yourself in these ways that like maybe people didn't even know that side of you existed. And I just really appreciate that because I feel like he's thinking of me. He's really thinking of me as an artist. And it means a lot to me. Uh it's like it's just a really good artistic relationship. And I feel that way about Elucid too. Like, I mean, I feel that way about a lot of people right now, which is really nice. Like, I'm just in this really nice
Hmm.
place in my life with people where I'm like, we just believe in each other and we fuck with each other. And we also like want to push each other to make just more like, I don't know, like soul shattering stuff.
Right. And that having that relationship and that like reservoir to tap into, like a community thing. I feel like I talk about community on here a lot because I tend to kind of focus a lot of my attention on people a part of big artistic communities between Backwoods and everything that like Mike and Navy Blue and all of them got going on. Looks like the whole like New York indie
Yeah.
underground scene. Like it's like it really can't be overstated how beneficial that is at its best, to just kind of be surrounded by people who push you to be, like better than you thought you could be.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of one thing Woods and Elucid and I hampered on when I did the piece for Pitchfork, was like we talked a lot about that, and I think I mentioned a couple of times like it's really something that y'all have like surrounded yourself with all these different creatives, like not even just rappers and producers either, but just like like for it to be at a point where like you have a residential engineer who like people know. I mean, like
Yeah.
Green does so much more than just like engineer and mix and master, but like,
Yeah.
like people I've never heard talk about like the mix and master of a track, or like, oh, Willie Green did this one. I'm like, it's so like it's
Yeah.
like that, like that kind of. And like even the fact that you were like engineering most of your stuff, like, or at the very least you were mixing it, like that's like, like we're at a point now where I feel like people have a little more respect and understanding for what it means to like be involved on that technical end. And I feel like a lot of that comes from this idea of community, you know, and
Yeah.
just like, oh, like this person does this person does this and this, you know, like I feel like that kind of gives people a really that makes it easier for people to maybe not compartmentalize, but at least just like process, like we were talking about before, like the idea of like, oh, this is what it means to sing on a track and do other things with that. This is what it means to rap. This is what it means to produce. This is what it means to
Yeah.
engineer, you know. And like I think plus one is such a beautiful culmination of that, you know. Like I don't think it's messy at all, you know. I think it just works because y'all all sound so natural together. Like
Yeah.
I think and you know, like there's like a I want to focus on Afternoon Sun a little bit
Yeah.
because during the Pitchfork piece I had the pleasure of being in the studio with Green while he was mixing that song, and just like hearing, I think I must have heard it at least 80 times in that hour, and I never got sick of it. It's just one of
Yeah.
those like between you know, like y'all put your ankle in that shit.
Mhm.
I love that song. It sounds, you know, it sounds very sunny. It sounds very summery. It's very like, it almost sounds like Twilight in the summer. I don't know. It's like very like
Yeah.
it's very like dusky to me. But
That's
like
it feels like that to me too. Yeah.
so like, you know, and just like on top of that, just like the whole idea of you know, like there's like a lot of self-assurance on that song, you know, like you talking about like you just stepping into your identity like once you figured out what you wanted to do with Fielded. And I feel like that song, and really a lot of songs on this album, are very much like affirmational in that way of like, this is who I am, this is what I'm, you know, like it's funny you said you don't know what you're working towards, because it sounds like you kind of know what you're working towards on a lot of these songs. You're just kind of like working towards like peace of mind, and just like figuring out who you are, and just kind of being, just kind of accepting that that's like a lifelong process, and it never really ends. You know,
Mhm.
it's like stuff like Afternoon Sun. I even hear that on like Freaky Extendo and
Mhm.
Goddess Woes and Honeysuckle. Like it's all there. You know, like
Yeah.
you're like talking about all of this, like, yeah, I just think that's really dope. So like, so it's like, I guess not to over expand it too much, but just like, but like talk to me about making Afternoon Sun, and like where that came from and how you kind of feel it, because like to me that almost feels like a linchpin for understanding the whole album. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of like the, if you get this, you'll get everything else, which I think was really cool to have that be the second track on the album. Sorry, I'm rambling, but
No,
please.
it's okay. No, I'm just thinking about that. I'm like, that's interesting because I would say that's one of the more approachable songs. And I would say like a song that's less approachable would be like, oh, if you fuck with this, then like you're definitely gonna fuck with like the rest of the album. But maybe that's not like the Backwoodz fans vibe. Like, so for me, I'm like, oh well, yeah, everybody's gonna love Afternoon Sun. First of all, it's like that Kenny beat, it's just like I just fucking love. I mean, everything Kenny sent me or sent Woods, and then I was like very like, does Kenny want to work with me? Like I started like, does he think I'm cool? And I was like, felt very lucky that he actually sent me 3 beats. I didn't use the third. I don't know why. I think we just ran out of room on the record, but uh that beat, I was just like, I think I immediately was just like, oh, Felicia needs to be on this. Like that voice,
Mhm.
I know, like she just is so smooth. And like, I knew she was going to write some fucking killer harmonies and as she does. And, I think I don't know, like it was like the same process as the rest of the album. Like everybody just kind of picking up what I was throwing down. Like I sent them the demo, was just like, here's my demo. Like, this is kind of what I'm talking about. It's also just like weird poetry. Like, I don't know, pick up the vibe. And then like Felicia just sent this shit back that I was like, yep, okay. Like she completely
Mhm.
got it. Like, I don't think there was anything that I was like, can we try that a different way? Like, I think everything everybody sent, I was like, yes, definitely. This is it. And I don't know, like that, yeah, that song for me is just super vibey. Like, I think all the songs, like with the other vocalists, like I just felt really locked in with them. Like I felt really locked in with ABLA Free. I always feel really locked in with Wolf. Like
Yeah.
just we've sang up together a bunch of times. I helped a little bit. Um, with the harmonies on Saint Mella's last EP, which like I like say that, so like I helped, and then they like took the harmonies to another level. So um but I think I just felt super locked in with the vocalist. I was like nervous about working with other rappers because I was like, oh well, I don't know, like I don't really know this person as well, like will our styles match? And I just felt like, yeah, just created each song was sort of creating a whole new world. Sorry to sound so cheesy, but it's like they're all their own little universes. And
Yeah,
I just appreciate that about like working with Pink Navel. Like that track is like such a interesting vibe. Like
they're so dope. I love Pink Navel.
I love Pink Navel too. We're playing we're playing two shows together for our mutual album releases, one in Boston and one in New York.
Let's
Mid
go. When's the New York one?
The New York one is on November 12th at Gold Sounds. I want to say the venues. I've never played there before, but yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna be there.
Cool.
That's
Currently trying to
yeah.
find an opener. But it's happening.
Hey.
Yeah, definitely come. But yeah, I just feel like we created a little universe in every song, and it was so fun to try to lock in with the different styles of the different beats, um like child actor, and it's just like sometimes so like kind of wonky, and like I'm like, can I
Mm-hmm.
groove to this? And then I find the groove and I'm like, oh yeah, okay. I think for me, just like the fun of writing a melody, like it's just like it was just like the whole album was just like how what is the melody we hear in this? Like what is, and we being me, like what is the melody, like where can we take this? Like what are the harmonies? Like can we even fit harmonies on this? And I just always know, like shout out to Green, because I'm like, here's some crazy shit that I did, like with like some harmonies and the space, and he's like, say no more, I got you, I'm gonna mix it the right way. Like he always like mixes it in a way where it's like very listenable, and I super appreciate that. So yeah, I don't even know if I answered your question.
You definitely answered like how the song came together, and like I love y'all's vocal contrast is really nice, and I think that's one of the reasons why that song works as well as it does. Like you and Felicia's voices, like like she kind of has this like mid register and kind of like hits, like she has like high pockets but doesn't hit them super crazy, and like you're belting,
Yeah,
like like you've got like the big room clearing voice, and she's
yeah.
got the and she's got the like not so much room clearing but very much like like I don't want to call it soft because it's not soft, but it's like definitely like somewhere like in
There's
that
something
middle.
really warm and like comforting about Felicia's voice, I feel. And
Definitely.
Wolf and I were
Yeah.
talking about it in Geneva. I was like, I think Wolf was like, her voice is like crystal. And I was like, yes, that's how I would describe Felicia's voice. Like if you've ever heard her sing with the Dirty Projectors, or like her solo project Fell Due, it's like just crystal. Like when she goes to hit a note, she hits the note, and it's like, I think I compared her voice a little bit. It's just like this is a very strange comparison, but I was more comparing like Barrington Levy's voice, like the way he can hit, like the way his runs flow. It's like before auto tune, like there's nothing on his voice. It's just this gorgeous, like perfect note hitting. Like that's how I feel about Felicia's voice. It's just like, man,
Mhm.
she really like, she'll go for a run and you're like, every single note on that run was perfect, pitch fucking perfect. And I think that's like amazing.
Yeah, that's really not hard to do. My sister and I can get a little judgmental sometimes when we're listening to other people sing. Like you'll see every once in a while, like we'll just look at each other and be like, "That motherfucker's out of pitch." Like
Yeah, no, I
it's
totally get that. And you
like,
should see me in the studio. That's what I'm saying. I could point out all the mistakes to you on plus one, because sometimes I'm in the studio with Green and I'm like, it's pitchy, it's pitchy. And Green's like, okay, I don't hear it. You gotta chill. Like he has to like be like, it's good. Like the delivery's there. Like, so I can, yes,
that's
I can
hilarious.
same way, mostly with myself, but yeah.
Yeah, of course, I get it. We're always our own toughest critics.
Yeah.
But before we formally wrap this up, like I was saying before, just some of my, like I'm actually happy you mentioned child actor, because child actor is someone I've really been like they've had an incredible last couple years. Like
Mhm.
just like I think A Tribe All Stressed from the Shrapnel album is one of my favorite beats I've heard in the last. It sounds like a migraine.
Yeah.
It like throbs like a migraine, and I've been noticing every time I hear a child actor beat it, like it's kind of not so much wonky, but it throbs. It's like
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I hear that and I'm like, that's child actor. I bet, and I go look and I'm like, it's fucking child actor. Like I
Yeah.
love I'm trying to remember. I think Take Me There is one of the songs produced by Child Actor, right? Am I
Yeah.
wrong about that?
No,
Okay.
yeah, it's a child actor. Yeah.
Yeah, no, just like, yeah, it's like stuff like that. And I think like outside of Afternoon Sun, hmm, sorry, had hair in my
That's
mouth. I think after Afternoon Sun, stuff like Take Me There, and I really love Freaky Extendo, that They Hate Change song. Like
yeah.
that's like that. Well, yeah, like that sounds like fucking just like that sounds like I want to say just like a really manic dream.
Yeah. Oh,
Like it's
Elucidity, I mean, Elucid on
yeah,
the beat, it's just gonna be like, what is going on? But
right.
yeah,
He's ridiculous with it. Like I love, like that's such an outlier on this project, because everything else is so down tempo and like warm and inviting, and then there's just like somebody just threw a whole bunch of nerds in your face. Like
yeah,
that.
that's a good way to put it.
That's how Freaky
Yeah.
Extendo felt to me.
I love They Hate Change. They're so cool. I met them. We were on Death Bomb Arc together, and I was like, wow, they're so talented. Um, and
Yeah, they're really cool.
like doing their own thing. Like I really appreciate them. I really fuck with them as people. Forgot what I was gonna say. Um, oh, I was gonna say, I love Teether. I don't know how familiar you are with Teether's work. Teether,
Not not super duper familiar, but I know the name and I've probably heard a few things here and there.
I think he's doing. I think he's like getting pretty well known in Australia, but because he's Australian. I think he's Australian. Um, but some of his work, it's so weird. It's like so good. I don't know. I just recommend like
Hmm.
scanning through some of his more recent projects and just being like, okay, like this is, and like his music videos are really good. Yeah, he's got it all. Like he has a whole like his presentation is immaculate, I would say.
That sounds great. I definitely want to tap in. I'm always looking for new stuff. Um, yeah, nah, like, but yeah, this is just like I love how, like, this isn't a concept album. You're not trying to tell an overarching story. Like it's just you got a whole bunch of really dope beats and dope features, and you're just kind of the glue tying it all together. And like I appreciate that level of I appreciate the lack of like pretense.
Mm-hmm.
Just like y'all, just like you said, you just made dope songs. And I know I've heard a lot of people complaining about the fact that you're not on your own album as much as they would have liked. which is
Like
which is
one
really
person on Twitter, I was like, chill, it's coming.
like, yeah, no, it was, but like I'm listening and I'm like, well, that's like, I don't want to say that's not the point, but like, like this is very much like like you're very much the beating heart of this album. It's your album, like it's not
Yeah,
like like it's not like a Backwoodz compilation featuring Fielded. Like this is a Fielded album that just so
yeah,
happens to feature all the homies, like, and like I like that. I don't want to say it's like a kickback atmosphere. It's not like, I'm not sure if you heard Fly Seafoods when it came out, but like in a way,
yeah.
it almost reminded me of like a similar,
Thank
like
you.
it had like a similar vibe as Fly Seafoods, just in terms of like people within a community working toward
Yeah.
something, like, and
That
like
that
it.
makes me happy. I described it to some friends, like I was half joking, but I was also like, oh, it's got kind of real. I was like, it's the fucking 2023 Backwoodz yearbook. Like it's got all your friends on it, and it's like, hey, see you next year. Like have a good summer.
Right.
Like I just feel like
Yeah,
it's
it's
that.
in it.
Like
Yeah.
It's our yearbook, and like we had fucking fun. It was sort of a kickback, honestly, compared to the torture I put myself through, like making most albums. This was like
Mhm.
so fun to make, and I think it is that collaborative thing, and it is the community, and just like the community aspect made it super fun and like easy, honestly. And I'm glad people fuck with it. It really makes me happy. It makes me happy to know that people are just like, yeah, this is cool. Like, because I didn't really know what to expect. So,
Right. And yeah, I think it's doubly cool that you're at this point now where, like this is your third project on Backwoodz, and like, they just kind of gave you the runway to run with before Diabetic Test Strips came out. And, like like I can tell how much Woods really cares about all the other artists on his label, and it
yeah.
makes me really happy to see, like it makes me happy to see Sharif and Dove get their time to fucking, own the summer with Decay,
Mhm.
and for fucking Prem and Castro to come together and make another Shrapnel record right after, like right after Castro went through his cancer and hip treatments, and just like, like you like being at this point where you're, like you're about to, like I know things are only up for you from here. Like I'm
Oh,
hearing more people talk
thanks.
about you, like it's like I just like looking at you and like looking at like, like a Kai Solo, for example, with Spirit Roaming, and just like how I'd kind of seen him come up, and like, like I've been knowing him since
Huge,
like 20.
huge fan of Akai Solo. I
Yeah,
love his work.
he's so dope. Like, and then like we linked around 2018, back when he only had one project to his name on SoundCloud, and
Hmm.
like I just, like seeing him come up and seeing you come up, and just like, and like knowing how long you've been at this, and just I don't know, it just feels like a very ripe moment for you, and
Thanks.
I just love that people are here now. Like I was talking with one of my coworkers at Pitchfork, my man Matt Ruiz. He's my friend. I'm not gonna call
Oh,
him a coworker.
yeah,
Yeah,
for a long time. Like not like super well, but I think he was friends with, yeah, I think we've known each other, like of each other for a long time. Right?
crazy. Maybe. Yeah. Like, but
He
either way, like,
what's his Instagram?
shit.
Is
What is
he
his
like
name? I don't know.
Puerto Rican on Instagram or something?
Maybe I don't know if we follow each other on Instagram, but
Oh,
we
okay.
follow each other
All
on
right.
Twitter.
Okay,
So
okay.
if we do, Matt Ruiz, I'm sorry. but
Yeah, no, yeah. It's all love. It's all love.
but yeah, no, I was just talking to him because I sent the album to them when you first sent it to me, and he popped
Yes.
in and was just like, oh, he was like, oh, like it's great to see more people paying attention to Lindsay. I was like, yeah, totally. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
it was a cute
Okay.
moment.
Yes, we
Yeah.
follow each other on, or I follow him on Instagram, and I met him like in 2016, I think, through Perfect Pussy, who I like did one tour
Hey,
with. Yeah, super nice guy.
yeah,
Super funny guy too.
yeah, no, he's a storyteller. We were in Chicago, and he was just, yeah, he's got so many stories and such a crazy perspective, and just he's so passionate. But yeah, nah, like, yeah, this feels like a very nice right moment for you to like really just like, I'm just happy you're getting this platform for people to finally, like, not like, I don't want to say finally, but like it just feels like this is like a watershed moment where it's like,
It's
where it's like, hey,
been many years.
yeah, it's been many years, but like, like it's just dope that you're at this point now, and more people know who you are, and like you're just like ready to expand, and fucking
Well,
there's so many. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the last thing I'll say, like, I will say, I think about it a lot, and I'm like, yeah, I'm like, who knows? Like, I'm the type of person who's like, the glass is half empty. I'm like, who knows what's gonna happen? But I also feel like there is no other time in my life that I would rather have people paying attention to my work, because I just don't, when I reflect, it's like I wasn't ready emotionally, like psychologically, to handle that, to hold space for that in my life. And so I feel like I'm in a place um now where I'm like, no, like I'm a grown up. Like I'm like, I feel like responsible for myself, and I feel like I'm like moving in the right direction emotionally, and like I'm just like more settled as a person. And so it feels like if it's going to happen, I'm happy it's now and it wasn't like 10 years ago, because I would have like crumbled under the pressure. So, you know what
Right.
I mean? I don't know. Maybe other people have said that to you. I don't know how Woods feels about that. I always want to talk to him about it because I'm like, what's it like kind of coming up a bit later than like, most artists like break in their 20s or whatever. And it's like,
Right.
always so curious about that. Like, how does that feel?
Yeah, we got the. Sorry,
No, I
you
was
were.
just like, yeah, I'm just being tangential. What were you going to say?
No, no, I feel you. Yeah, no, we got to talk about that a little bit when I was interviewing him for the Pitchfork piece, and like he really just kind of kept it to like he feels very vindicated, in the sense that like people are finally, like they've kind of hit a level that like it took them 20 years to hit it, but they've hit a level, like you just look
Yeah.
at diabetic test strips and it's going crazy right now. Like
My
like I
God.
know, once again, like people who I've been trying to put onto Arm& Hammer for years are coming and hitting my phone like, yo, you hear this one? I'm just like, I've been telling y'all for 5 years, like these guys are it, like so it's
Yeah.
like so like he's like they like him and Anton and Lucid and Green and all of them have like they put in more than 10,000 hours at this point,
Yeah.
and like you've put in more than 10,000 hours at this point, and for y'all to be having this moment together is just really cool to me. I don't have anything else to like add or perspective. I just think it's dope that this is, like it's your time,
Thank
so just congratulations.
Thank you. And yeah,
Yeah.
We Buy Diabetic Test Strips is so good. And I like cried listening. Not to sound like a total dork, but Total Recall, I think that's what the song is called. I was like, this song reminds me of what it felt like to listen to music in high school and be like,
Mm.
I want to make music. Like, I want to be involved with making music like that. I want to produce music like that. Like, that is that, like, it just sounds like the hope of my youth, was like how I described it to a Lucid. I was just like, man, this album, it just it just resonates like with me so much. And I know it's resonating with so many people. I'm so happy about that. But man, that song in particular like choked me up a little bit. I was like, and the vocalists on the album, oh my goodness,
Mm-hmm.
so good. And I just found all their Instagrams today and have been like, I know like Kiana's on there, but I was like the other
Yeah.
ones, I was like, hey, I love your vocal. Like, like but yeah, it just hits right. It really hits right.
Yeah, no, that could be a whole other podcast where we just talk about fucking Me by Diabetic Test Strips and
Yes.
like
Yeah, I'm going off.
no. And it's so funny because I'm going on somebody else's podcast to talk about it tomorrow.
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
that's hilarious. Shout out to my man Dano over at Free Music Empire. He's super dope. But yeah, no, like I just learned recently that the whole thing came together through like jam sessions that all the producers took and sat, because like a lot of people I've been listening to lately, like Odyssey and well, I mean, I've been a fan of Odyssey and Black Milk for years, but like I
Mhm.
just reviewed their albums that came out this year, and they both put out albums this year, and that's how they've both been doing things for a long time. They just like have bands and do jam sessions, and then they sample the footage the old-fashioned way, kind of like what like De La Soul did
Yeah.
for their last full length before Dave passed away. Rest in peace to Trugoy. But like, I just like, to me that's always been the best. That's been the best use of a live band in rap music. Like there's so few like regular live hip hop bands that I'm like super duper into. Like the
Yeah.
only ones I could think of who like really do it for me in that way right now, and I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. Poetic Thrust, if they ever come back, they're super dope. I love Poetic Thrust. But like it can be really difficult for it to not just sound like elitist to me, like, oh well, we can just like do this with real instruments. I know most people don't think that way, but that's where my brain goes. But like you take stuff like like this Arm& Hammer album, it's like people are gonna call it more sophisticated, even though it's like it's all sampling just the same way it's always been, and they're just pulling from direct sources, or not that they weren't pulling from direct sources before, but like you know what I mean, just in the sense of like pulling from stuff that they created,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's like,
I think Armand Hammer has sought, and like, what the fuck do I know about hip hop? But like, I feel just in listening to them for a long time, like, I feel they've sought to create a language and they've like hit it, like they have found it, But on this album, they like solidified this language that they were seeking to create, that I think is just like so powerful. Like I'm like, yes, like you're scholars in the language that you've created, like you are now
Yeah.
scholars, if that
Oof,
makes
that's
sense.
it's such a great way to put it. That makes perfect sense to me. Like I kind of like that all kind of clicked for me when I first heard Paraffin.
Oh,
Paraffin's still far and away, not far and away, but it's my favorite Arm& Hammer release for a
I love
lot of
that
reasons.
album.
It's so good. I love the cover. I love the music. I love how it comes together and just like they just I don't know, man. It's just like I'm really fascinated with artists who just like like work under the radar, whatever the fuck that means, and just like they just keep getting better. Like
Yeah,
Woods and Elucid keep getting better. Castro and Prem keep getting better.
yeah.
You keep getting better. It's just like it like I always think about it like when I write, it's like I'm always there's nothing I've ever put out where I've been like, this is perfect. To me, I'm always just like having my distance to the target. Every time I get a little bit closer, but it's never like I never quite hit the bullseye.
Yeah.
Like you're so close, but and for me, as long as I can just keep at like getting a little closer, as long as there's progress, like you were talking about before, like progress is the key
Oh,
word there.
progress is the key word. And also, just sorry, I know this is getting really long, but I want to just say, like, I don't know that we want to hit the target in mainstream personally. This is how I feel personally. Do I want to hit the target in the mainstream reception of my music? Will that put me in a position where I've essentially, like, according to mainstream music, like consumption, made the my best album or my perfect album, and then where the fuck do you go from there? Like,
Right,
because
exactly.
you have to. I feel bad for bands sometimes that I see get like this crazy reception for their first debut album, and then it's like, whoa, like what about, like, what are they going to do for their second album? Like, will it, if they change lanes, like will it be disappointing all around? Like, it
Right.
just seems like a lot of pressure. So I think it's like, I like kind of living under the surface a little bit and being like, well, now I'm going to try this genre. Now I'm going to go over here.
Mhm.
Like, I appreciate that freedom. So I don't know. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm always like, do I want to hit the target? Or like, are my goalposts like that they keep moving? Is that okay? Like, we're just gonna like, nope, have the right mental health about it, but be like, yeah, I know I'm never gonna quite get there, and that's okay. It's not the
Yeah,
point.
no. I'm with you on that, honestly. Like I never yeah, like I don't know that I ever want to write something that I think is like you always want to feel like you can get better, like especially as a creative, like it's not like we're athletes, like you can like your brain is just getting sharper and sharper as you get
Yeah.
older if you're lucky. And like, and you're like I didn't even mean so much in terms of like mainstream recognition, just more in terms of like just like do you feel like you made the best thing you could have? And
Yeah.
like that's kind of how I feel about everything I write. It's just like maybe this isn't the best thing I've ever written, but is this the best version? Because like that's how I feel about my writing and this. And whenever I review or think about anything, like what is this trying to tell me? And is this the best version of what it's trying to be? Like what is it? Does it work? Like those are the two questions that I always seek to answer whenever I do anything really. And like we move, you
I like
know?
that. Yeah, keep that in mind. Yeah, I think my mind just went to the mainstream. But no, I totally see where you're coming from, for sure.
No, I get that. It's always gonna be there. It's
Yeah.
that's a conversation that's never gonna go away. But
Yeah.
I feel like we could sit here and talk for like 2 more hours. This has been
I
so dope.
know.
But but to formally wrap things up, Fielded, Lindsay, if your life was a movie, what would it be about?
Oh,
I have a feeling I'm gonna love this answer.
it's so much pressure. If my life was a movie, what would it be about?
Yeah.
Oh my God. It would be about, I think, the main thing I did. Um, it would be about so many things. I don't know. I feel like it would be like is it vignettes? Like that they would be like this grouping of years and this grouping of years. Like I've
It
like
could
I
be it could be about whatever you want it to be. It could be
yeah,
a movie if you want. Like
not to quote myself, but there is so much truth in that song "Looking for Love" in the Anthropocene, where I said that I've been so many different people, no wonder I haven't found the one. And it's like truly because my life has been so many different things.
Yeah.
And I think it would listen, I know we're talking about movies here, but I think it would be episodic, and I think there would be seasons, and there would be like I was a young uh musician who had mild success season. I think there would be like I was a drunken Chicago party animal making prog music season. I think there would be like the like mid 20s, my brief time in LA, finding out I was bipolar season. I would just go on, and there's many seasons that I could go on about, but I think the overarching theme would be mental health and like coming to terms with my like decompressing from a lot of PTSD, dealing with my mental health, getting that under control so I can have a more pure relationship um with my work, with my art, with my music. And that's definitely what's going on now. Like I feel like I'm focusing in on like having a pure relationship. Sorry, this is like the most sincere answer I could have given you.
That's all good.
Not like a cool, like I wish I had like a cooler answer, but I just think it would be about like mental health and finding yourself.
That's great. You know, like we talk about TV on here all the time, first and foremost, so don't feel bad about that.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, it's you know, like I realized pretty early on that like, you know, like movies and TV are pretty, I don't want to say they're synonymous with each other, obviously, but like a lot of people, you know, like a lot of people early on would give me TV shows, and I'm like, yeah, just make it TV shows too. You know, like it's like it's all filmmaking at the end of the day. You
Yeah.
know, so but yeah, no, I could see that. You know, you really have lived a lot of lives, and you know, like you're at a point now where you feel like you're at your best, and that's, or maybe not at your best, but you feel like you're better than you've ever been. I think that's safe to say, and you know, like that's it for like my formal questions. But yeah, I just wanted to like thank you for this. This was super duper intense and a lot of fun and very deep and
Yes.
very thoughtful.
I'm
And
a very intense person. I don't know if anybody warned you, but now you know.
that's all good. We love that here. I just, yeah, no, like just like as someone who's been a fan of yours for a while, and you know, like just like I just always relish the opportunity to get to see somebody have their moment in this way, and you know, you're having it right now, and I just appreciate you being here to share that and share your perspective, and you know, just getting to learn more about you. It's been great. So thank you for taking the time. It
Thank you
really
for
means a lot.
having me. It was so fun. And now I'm gonna go pick my dog up from my parents' house and have a birthday party for him. So
Incredible. How old is he?
he's 3, and
Oh,
he really is a teenager now. Or I guess he's 21, right? I don't know.
yeah, 7 years.
Yeah, so he's becoming a young man, which I love watching. He no longer pees and poops in the house, which I appreciate.
Hey man, well, we were talking about progress before. That's the best progress. Right?
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Shout out to y'all for making it this far, and shout out to all the Black people listening too, because y'all really impeccable. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell a friend to come through next time. 1.